So I joined the house about a week into Inlay. So one of the issues thereof is that as you come in, you would think that you're going to be an outsider. But what I found is that I was very accepted. The RC that I had was very welcoming. So from then already, I had this drive to sort of serve the house because I felt like a part of it. It was the family almost. So started off my leadership journey as a member of the FCOM. This happened through just being involved in state movements. I was FCOM culture. From then I went to a leadership camp that the varsity hosts. There's a quote that I heard while I was there, and that's sort of one of the pivotal moments in my leadership journey, if I would say. Someone said that the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. And that's something that stuck to me in the sense that, to be honest, coming into varsity, I was somewhat of an introvert. But I came in and said, okay, let me leave my comfort zone. Let me try to actually enact change in the spaces that I occupy. And that is what mainly drove me to becoming leadership in the sense of becoming part of the Legatus.
All right, so arriving at varsity, I didn't even know that day residences were a thing. I just thought you get to varsity, go to class, go back home, and that's it. I met a brother, Moses, and he approached me and said, this and this is going on. We've got day residence, and he explained the idea, the concept behind day residences. You know, it's just to bring students who aren't in actual on-campus residences into the mainstream of campus activity. So yeah, I liked the idea, and he asked me what I would be expecting from such a residence. And I actually didn't know, because that's the first time I was hearing about it. I hadn't thought about it, and I told him that. I said, well, I'm not too sure. He said, well, I've got just a place for you. Took me to Legatum, and that's pretty much how it happened. My first prime then was Hopalang, and the RC first years was Josevo. In my latter years of my time at varsity, I then began to understand why that was his approach in asking me what I was expecting. Because you know, it's an untold secret that you know, with certain other residences, there's a structure. You know, you're looking for this, you go to there. You're looking for A and B, you're sent there. But if you're ready for a new perspective, if you've got a clean canvas that you are prepared to write a new story on, a new picture, this is where you go, right here. If, you know, the moment you walk through those doors, you leave every preconceived idea or notion about what you think you understand about varsity life, about life experiences, everything that makes a great gentleman. Leave that at the door, because you know, it's about to be a life-changing experience. So that's what I began to understand about that approach that he gave to me. And I took that with me in my recruitment as well, in the latter years. But yeah.
It's actually a very funny story. When I came to the university, right, I was with my mother and so on registration lines. House Veritas actually approached me, right? And they approached me and they captured my mother, like she was ready to pay for everything and so on. And then I said, nah, let me just take a break. I'm not sure if I want to join such. Then I went, when I found a place to stay off campus, I actually met people from back home. So people that I knew from afar but weren't really friends with. So that was Flex, Swapi, and the other ladies stayed in a different day residence. So when I joined there, I remember we were sitting with the lads, we were just talking, and it was really chilled. And then they just spoke that, by the way, on the weekend we'll be going to campus. And I'm like, what's up? And then they're like, nah man, we'll just be going to stay there for staying week and so on. And they explained everything and so on, how much money was going to be needed and so on. And in our minds, we were thinking we're going to stay on campus for this 2-week stay, like in terms of a residence, so that we can be incorporated into Inblay Orientation Week. So that's how I actually joined Legatum, because on that Saturday we went to campus and we got to Legatum. So it was through Flex recruiting me, him also as a first year, that I joined Legatum. So I think it really is by chance that I joined Legatum more than anything, but because in my mind, in my mother's mind, I was going to House Veritas. So Flex recruited me to be part of Legatum.
As a member of the Legatus, I thought that one of my fondest memories of being an RC Rag was the commitment that fellow members showed to the res when they would stand up at 5 o'clock in the morning to attend charity events that I had to organize, and it was really difficult to get people to buy in, but those people that came were the real leaders that stood with me. I wasn't just the one in the main leadership position. Everyone acted as a smaller leader inside of the group, and that was really inspiring to me. One of the biggest memories that I have from Legatum is probably Stage Door and SAD, where we were the first groups to make a Stage Door final, and we were the first groups to make a SAD final. And that to me was really an inspiring moment, where we had really a group of people that were kind of looked down on, but we surprised everyone, made finals, and then I remember in the Stage Door finals we got freestanding ovations. We only performed at 2 events, and even though we did not win, we were definitely the pride. We were the people to look up to. So everyone talked about us the next day at that Stage Door finals, and then even at the SAD finals, I remember there was a residence that was there every year, and then we were the guys to kind of kick them to the side. And I remember they bought something like 100 tickets for their residence members to come and watch them, and we were the people that were in their place. So clearly people didn't expect us to make it, and even though we were small res, we put ourselves in that position to do well, because we put the time in, we put the effort in, and we never stopped believing in our goals as Legatum members.
My experience as part of the Legatus was amazing. It had its good points and its bad. Let me say that. The fondest memories, I could go on all day, but to name a few, the obvious ones would be Stage Door and SAD. I think we accomplished something that we had not accomplished yet, in that we placed in SAD, we got I think 2 awards in each of them. I will forget them now if I try to name them, right? As part of the Legatus, those are the things we did, but a small memory also is the lip sync battle. I think to that effect, that event came about almost during the year. It wasn't initially planned for. So one of the things I know my Legatus would complain about is that I went off budget with regards to that. But the event itself, the way it played out, was amazing. It surpassed anything that I had planned for in my head at the time, and yeah, that is probably top one of my best memories.
I think really the precedent was set for us as house members in our first year when I got to Legatum. I mean, the slogan says where extraordinary leaders are born. So the standard was already set. Even the people that were in the house, you saw people that were involved in leadership, that had a passion for leadership. We had people that were in the SRC, where we had leaders. When I got there, JD was the prime. Everyone was just in a leadership structure. We had mentors and so on. So that really gave me the courage to, first of all, join the AFCOM, and then being busy with the AFCOM and learning from the leadership of Joseph, I really wanted to run for leadership, but I wasn't really sure as to which portfolio to run for. So I wanted to be involved in the house. I wanted to serve the house because it was a very welcoming space, one, and it gave you that thing of you wanting to also continue and also give that thing that you got to the incoming first years or the incoming Legionnaires. So that was the goal, or that was the mindset going into elections. I wanted to give the same opportunities that I was given and the same platform to the incoming Legionnaires, and also just to continue the legacy more than anything, because one thing that we were always taught was that the people that hold this house is the Legionnaires. So in that, we had to continue. We had to take the legacy from our leaders or our seniors or our elders and just continue with that. So I had to make sure that I ran. And when I was FCOM, I was really confused because I was FCOM academics and secretary. So I really thought that the next step is RC academics and maybe secretary. So, but I remember having a chat, a sit down with Josie, and we sat down and we spoke and so on, and we narrowed it down to what I would be interested in and what would really work for me. So it was the 2 portfolios of finance and first years. And I said to him, I can't be busy with my degree with numbers and then also go in terms of leadership and also be busy with numbers. So we narrowed it down to RC first years. That's what made me run. And then in terms of Prime, it was really a thing of when you're in that RC first years position, you're like, if I could do this, surely I can do Prime. So I was like, nah man. Also, I remember first year when it was the orientation or inauguration, if you could say, Brady came along, and it was as if the steps towards Legatum leadership is FCOM, it's RC for a year, it's then primaries, and then it's SRC. So for me, I also really got inspired by that. I just, when I saw that, I was like, I want to be like that one day. So naturally then the next step after RC first years was RC Prime. And also there were so many things that I wanted to also do in my prime year. Hence I was like, Yazim, let me just run. Let me just take this opportunity, and all these thoughts and all these ideas that I have, let's actually implement them.
I thought that the leadership at our university was quite standard, and that the people at the Legatum side of the leadership were quite unique in their approach. They regarded everyone as a brotherhood, and they regarded people as individuals who were part of a greater collective and not just a lot of people in a res, part of a generic system. So that uniqueness and the uniqueness in every brother in the residence was brought to the forefront by the leadership of Legatum. And that's what made us unique at the time. And I thought that the leaders at Legatum really saw each individual for who they were. And even though we were not the biggest res at the time, we were not the people that had the most funding. We were always the people that were sort of under attack because we were the new guys and the different guys on the res. We had a leadership that pulled us through every year, and that's what I saw and I respected from the team that we worked with.
The first reason is not an amazing one. To become a P3 mentor after my RC term, the main reason was to stay on the Legionnaires group because of the banter that's there. But after that, to be honest, I really enjoyed the inciting change in someone's life while being an RC. And pursuing that after being an RC was basically me just saying, let me volunteer, I don't need to get paid for it, but also there's less pressure when you're a mentor. But there's pressure in the sense that you are hand in hand working with those first years, making sure that they know where to go, where to be, and you're there to give advice where it's necessary. So that was one of the main reasons, the big reason, not the group reason.
I think coming into the legatus of my first term, we were a bunch of newbies into leadership, if you could say. Chills was the only person that had RC experience. And I think maybe that was the first of the house, first thing to happen in the house. So it really felt like we were under a microscope from the house members, because maybe they felt very uneasy as to the leaders are just first years at this point and they don't really have much experience. So it was really interesting, my first term, but I'm not gonna lie, it was really challenging, and the experience was a beautiful one to actually see, because despite the odds or the skepticalness of our house members, we really tried to defy the odds and break down those barriers and gain their trust. And it was really nice to see when we did gain their trust, because also my first experience as RC Festivals was really the greatest one, because the support from the house that we got in terms of Inblay was amazing. Also the fact that I wasn't alone in the whole running of Inblay Orientation Week. I had Tembi as the head mentor and the mentors that were really helping me through and through. That was really nice to see. So it felt like the orientation part of it, of my leadership experience, really felt like a more of a us thing than more of a me thing. So I really think in terms of my leadership experience, that was really great in terms of my first term. My second term, on the other hand, started on a high note as well, but was really difficult for me. As I said, I had many plans, I had many things or aspirations that I wanted to do as the prime, but then COVID came and I couldn't really do much. There was so little I could do, and having to navigate my way throughout the online system, the COVID and so on, and not being physically there when we also used to being physically there was really difficult. It was also very difficult to get the house members going or get the house members involved, because now it's a really total different experience for them. So in its entirety, my 2 terms were really interesting, challenging, but also great to have, because of the support of the house, because of the support of my team, and just in general, it was a great leadership experience.
I was looking at my residence members, and all of them that were the original people that started Legatum were all in leadership positions. It was clear to me that these people left their residences that they were in to start Legatum, and these were the types of people that were around me, and it's their influence that pushed me to want to become a leader and to contribute. Because if you really want to contribute in a residence, that is different. You need to take on a leadership position to do that.
There were talks. There was just general talk at the residence back at the time. I'm not sure about today, but every day it was just general talk. We had a prime who we were fortunate enough to have a prime who understood the value of exposure and experience. So he motivated us every day. Hopelang, I remember every day, would tell us to apply for these things. He exposed us to it, exposed me to it at least. All these things. Yali, Practice Young Minds, he would tell us about it every day, because he traveled far and wide, across the whole world. And obviously that was something we aspired to as well. So even after he had left, we still had the motivation to try these things out. So even after he left, we still had the motivation to try these things out. And I remember my second year, I tried with another senior of mine at the time, Jared, to apply for SABF, South American Business School. Now, Jared was my senior, and he was somebody that I looked up to, right? I applied at the same time with him. For context, SABF, you have to write an essay. 2,000 word essay is quite long. on a topic that they give you, right? Jared got in, I didn't, right? And that was still, it wasn't even like, I wasn't disappointed, I wasn't hurt. It just inspired me, it motivated me. Because I knew the level of intellect that he was on. I knew he was just, in a different space. And so I aspired to be there, right? That was a goal that I set. And so he got in, that's in my second year, that year, and I took the decision to try again. The following year I did GIS in Taiwan. Then the year after that, I took almost a year writing the essay for the next SABF. And man, they took me in a heartbeat this time. And that instilled so much pride in me that, I had set out to go almost 2 years prior to get to a level. And I need you to understand the importance of this, because it's not just going to these things. There's a lot that happens behind before you actually attend these things. I had to develop my writing and comprehension skills, all because I was inspired by a member of the house. Do you understand? And it was all such an incredible experience. You go there and you meet people that expose you to different approaches to problem solving. All right, same issues that we're facing, but they just see them differently because they've got different perspectives across the world. Someone in Japan could be exposed to the same issues we have here, and they just see it differently, and their solutions or their approaches might be solutions for us, but we just don't see it that way. And that's what I understood coming back from these things, and applying them in varsity and in general life. I still apply them in the workplace today. Yeah.
I'd say in terms of the smaller things, it's the networking that comes about with becoming an RC, a mentor, is you meet a lot of people on campus, and those relationships do kind of translate to the world outside. Well, I would like to hope that they do, right? So right now I am still doing my postgraduate diploma in governance and political transformation. My hope is that outside of the university space, these networks that I've built already, they're still going to be contributing in terms of career-wise, because I've met people in so many different, who are going to be in so many different industries. That should all contribute positively in the long run.
As an architect, we usually deal with quite insane schedules, and we have to work late at night. And you need to be strong as your own creative person. So there's a combination of working really hard and being a creative person that is an individual. And I think Legatum really showed me how to be an individual and to really push that idea in working hard to realize your goals, because there are a lot of people that try and push you into being into a box, and that box is a danger to society. So we need people like that are in Legatum that push out of that box and really try and push the boundaries of what you can do as a person. I think Legatum really helped me to understand that and to really push myself out of that stereotypical image. From Legatum, I could see from an honor perspective, honor to me meant that the people that came before you had a certain legacy that they put into place, and honoring that legacy, carrying that on into the residence, and merging that legacy with your lifestyle, so that the way that you wake up every morning is not just generic, it is in a specific legacy that someone else left for you, and you then follow that legacy forward and integrate it within your normal day life. In terms of unity, unity in terms of brotherhood, unifying as a person is not just having your own groups that you unify with, but looking at a greater diverse group of people to unify with and move forward. And that's how I also approach life. I don't just look at one type of group, I try to immerse myself in different cultural groups and people, and that's how I become stronger with people, because without people you are nothing. And then in terms of strength, strength to carry on even when the going gets tough, because for someone to be strong as a person, they need to look at all the things that they've gone through and realize that the work that they put in to overcome those things and how that's built them up to who they are now as a person. Yeah.
The RC team, it was a very difficult transition for anyone. One thing that I was always telling them is that we are the first to face this, so let's not be too hard on ourselves. Let's just take it as it comes. So I believe we did our very best. I mean, we had the gender-based violence campaign online, strictly online, and it was a real success. We had our RC academics hosting, moving our dialogues that we used to have on campus physically, where most of the campus used to come, adapted to Instagram lives and so on, and that started a narrative all over campus to also move their dialogues online. So I would say that we really did fairly well. Even with our India conversation, they were so impressed that they asked us, are we sure if we had a COVID-19 term as compared to other residences, because we didn't let COVID stop us. We tried to take everything that we had planned and move it to an online system, and I think we did our best with what we could and with what we were given. So I would give us a solid 8 in terms of how we navigated our way through COVID.
Not even a 10.
Be humble. Be humble.
Okay, that's a bit of a difficult question. The reason I say this is I feel that a lot of the things that I had set up for myself in my planning and in what I wanted to achieve, in terms of the Legatus alone, I achieved them. However, there are some personal goals that I did fall flat on. My academics, for example, being in the Legatus took a big toll on my academics, right? So to that effect, the one thing that I would advise to future leaders, that anyone would say, is time management is very important. Make sure that you manage how you balance your life, but also, other than that, make sure you have a subcommittee that is active and working. Because I think a lot of the time when it comes to big projects, I just put my head down and work. But if I had that support structure behind me, that would have made a lot of things easier.
It's not a popularity contest. You'll be greatly disappointed if that's what you're going into it for. But I think more importantly, the focus should be very aligned to what's important. And if you appreciate longevity, and the longevity of the house and the continuation of the house, understand that the real leaders are the ones that sit in the middle in the house meetings. You, as the current leader, are only a placeholder. The Legionnaires, there's a reason why they sit in the middle in those house meetings. They're the core of the house. Everybody else sits around them because we're supporting structures. Those are the leaders of the house. So take care of them. And the year after that, when the Legionnaires become the leaders of the house, play this video again for them, for the next Legionnaires. After.
I have to say, be strong in your convictions and be a person that people can look up to. In South Africa, we currently have a lot of leadership issues, and I think on a smaller level, everyone can contribute as a leader. And when you're in Legatum, you get given that platform to really go out and be a leader, because the one thing that Legatum really does well is individualized leadership positions, and they always have a leader in every group, if it's SRC or in smaller community groups. So be that leader and be that change.